Welcome back. In the next few modules, we're going to be looking at the VeriSM model. You can see the model up in the upper right-hand corner, and it is as simple as that diagram. My name is Dr. Suzanne Van Hove, and I'm going to be your instructor. So the VeriSM model is truly a service management operating model. It's a visual representation showing how the organization will deliver on its strategy and provide value to its customers through the production of products and services. So this information is found in chapters 7 to 14 of the Pocket Guide or of the full volume, so follow along as we progress through the descriptions. First of all, a service management operating model. Please understand it is a two-way relationship between the organizational strategy and the model itself. It's about defining the organizational strategy and ensuring that it is reflected in the operating model. And then as the model is being deployed or it's being used, we have that feedback loop and saying, wow, does it make a change in the organizational strategy? Do we need to update the strategy? We know that once a strategy is set, it's not set in stone. It will change over time. Now, the benefits from using an operating model, well, obviously the easy one is conformity and compliance, that we're all doing the same thing within the same guidelines. We deliver a consistent product or service. Our processes are optimized, and we also optimize or use our resources appropriately. We reduce the redundancy and duplication within our practices. So again, we're not wasting our resources. And it also allows us to have better decision making. We understand the ins and the outs of the model, and we understand where the potential bottlenecks are and also how we can deal with them. Using an operating model will reduce costs and it will increase value to the consumer. Now, this is never a one and done, like we've just said. The operating model must be reviewed regularly because business will change, the consumer requirements will change. So our model has to be adaptable, responsive, and agile, being able to deal and have the level of flexibility that is necessary and deal with those changes. So ask the following questions about your model. Does the model reflect the organizational processes and requirements? Is the documentation up to date? Are issues, risks, and opportunities clearly defined and addressed? Are the accountabilities clear? Who is responsible? Who's accountable? Are there appropriate measures embedded in the model? And are there systematic reviews to ensure the achievement of the defined goals? These are all great questions to ask to make sure that the model you're following appropriately reflects the vision, mission, goals, and objectives of the organization and allows you to meet the needs of the consumer, the outcomes that the consumer is wanting. Now, the VeriSM model includes 4 different parts. So we have a governance component, the service management principles, the management mesh, which is the key element, and then the stages and the activities. But notice within this model that the model starts and ends with the consumer. It is about understanding the requirements from the consumer and then engaging those requirements and saying, do they fit within my enterprise governance? Do we have the appropriate guardrails within the principles of how we're going to behave as an organization? Do I have the necessary capabilities to define, produce, provide, and respond to those requirements as we deliver that service? Then the last feedback loop here is that consumer again. The consumer starts it, the consumer ends it, where they will verify, review, and look for improvements to the services that are being delivered. Now, this is now chapter 8, and when we talk a little bit about governance. In a previous module, we did talk about enterprise governance quite a bit, and not to repeat that, but encourage you to go back and listen. But good governance has several key aspects. One, it's transparent. We should understand the strategy behind the governance. We should understand the outcome or the mission and the vision. What are we trying to accomplish? Good governance also assigns accountability. Who is the one that is going to be accountable? Which person or team or group, whatever it might be, has the level of accountability for its various operations? Good governance is also responsive. It should never be stagnant. It should never just be said, okay, here's our governance and we're never going to change it. It has to be responsive because not only does the business change, the consumer changes, and the environment that we work within change. It needs to be effective and efficient. We don't want to have a great deal of overhead. We want to be able to meet the needs as the needs arise and anticipate the needs through our good management practices with our operational, tactical, and strategic planning. It should be equitable and inclusive, meaning that anybody has an opportunity to add to the governance, to talk about the governance, to have input, and that it also should treat everyone in that governing group, or not the governing group, but the group that the governance applies to equitably. There should be a level of participatory input. Again, inclusive and anybody can participate. And the last one, which may be the most important, is it's sustainable. Meaning the governing principles that we have should be able to last until we need to change them due to circumstance. They should not be just in place for a specific service and to the detriment of other services. So it should be sustainable over time. Governance then will give rise to the mission, vision, goals, and objectives. Remember, this is my stakeholder group. They provide the scope of how the organization will operate. And they also give rise, once we have those mission, vision, goals, and objectives, they really do give rise to the principles or the values of the organization. And we're going to see that a little bit further on as we talk about those service management principles. So here's the opening piece of the VeriSM model. Again, governance is hugely, hugely important, and understand that it is an enterprise-wide view of governance. Enterprise-wide, meaning across the entire organization, not just a single entity or a single capability. We'll look at the service management principles in the next module.